River State government has cancelled all pending procurement and tender processes pending the approval of a spending plan by the state. This was made known in a special announcement by the Secretary to the State Government, Professor Ibiba Warika. The announcement reads, in adherence to the Supreme Court judgment upholding the appeal court ruling in suit number CA/ABJ/CV/133/2024, and in the absence of an appropriation law, the sole administrator, Vice Admiral Retired Ibok Ete Ekwe Ebas, CFR, wishes to notify the general public that all procurement and tender processes that were carried out by ministries, departments, and agencies during the period are hereby cancelled. Accordingly, all ministries, departments, and agencies that carried out such tender processes for projects in their respective offices are by these special announcements mandated to refund such tender fees to their respective contractors immediately, pending the approval of a spending plan by the state, which shall be notified in due course. Professor Ibiba Warika, Secretary to the State Government. Chizi, your reaction?
What am I reacting, Loretta? Well, that is the correct thing to be done.
You appear to be dancing.
Yes! Yes, because that is what we've been calling for. Because we didn't have a government for 1 year. So what are you doing? What is the tender? What are you collecting tender and duping people and collecting their money from them? To execute illegality? From which appropriation? Which money? You see, when you talk about appropriation money, that means that we didn't have a dime. That's what it means. We didn't function, we didn't exist as a state for 1 year. And that's what caused your Fubara. And then you want them to, the unsuspecting public were duped and got, in fact, I don't know why they say should refund it. They should refund it with interest. Because where did you get the money from? Where did you even taking the money to? In what way? I don't even know why contractors, of course they are not contractors, they are just agents, they are agents for looting. They were not contractors. That's why they wanted to use the money, the 800 billion naira that was appropriated for 2024. That's how they wanted to use it to loot. They were trying to use them to loot. In fact, they should even watch them whether they have not given them money. I am telling them whether they have not given them money, because I know that some of them were looking for funds that have up to 1 billion naira to transfer money to. I'm here now. I'm not afraid. People should come and arrest me. What is happening again? Because we can't continue to allow River State go the other way. You know, look at how we didn't exist. Even the law, the Supreme Court told us that we didn't exist. There was no government in River State. And so they should bring back those money to River, or send it back to those suspecting public, even though they are the one who gave them to come and tender in the first instance. They should give them back their money. And then so that they will now know, where did you use the money for? Tell us. You must tell us where these monies were and where the money. Why are you going to be executing projects? Like I told you, I said those who even wrote WIEC or certain things that were sponsored by government were illegal. If you push it to that, you see, we must leave emotions and sentiment and follow the facts as it is. So that people, it's not about Fubara, it's not about Wiki, it's about people, you know, trying to do the same thing. Somebody was telling me, people, government have done this before and all of that. I said, okay, but was it wrong? And should we continue with it? Now, even the government that did it, were they not with their legislators and judiciary together? The three arms of government were working together, isn't it? Now, one arm of government is suspending one. Like I told them the other time, I said the first person who declared the state of emergency in River State was Fubara. He declared the judiciary and suspended judiciary.
Suspended judiciary?
Fubara. Because he was not.
Why did he suspend judiciary?
Because he was not. Legislators. He suspended the legislators.
When he said he has to recognize them.
He has to recognize them, not the law, not us. It is Fubara that will now recognize them, whether they should exist or not. And so he suspended that arm of government. The day he suspended one arm of the government, and especially, let me tell you, the difference between military government and the other forms of government is legislature. In the military government, we have the executive, we have the judiciary. What we don't have in military government is legislator. And so the legislator is like how will I say it? It's like the epitome of democracy. That is the pillar of democracy. And so if you remove that pillar, that means democracy didn't exist. It could have been any form of government or for democracy. Because no other form of government suffices in that. I studied political science. There's no other form of government that survived that. And today, that you are using 4 persons, 4 of your brothers around, who were also adjudged, who have been alleged to be involved in an arson. Then you use a chief of staff who has been. What are we talking about? And then you allow this. So they should withdraw the whole of those things and even pay them back and then ask them so that we will not know the money they have. In fact, let me even advise the sole administrator. Please, these permanent secretaries, change them from that ministry to another ministry. If you cannot remove them, change them from that ministry, change them, swap their ministries. Swap their ministries, swap the local government treasurers and have HPM. They are also those who were used to do what they did.
So, to a large extent, you feel you commend this move.
It's a bold move.
And it's a bold one?
Yes.
Okay. And you are basing your argument on the fact that there was no appropriation bill in the first place to give life to the procurements and the tender process.
Tender process, yes.
So, where is the money to fund the contracts if they go through?
Where is the money?
Now, if I may ask you a question, the sole administrator has the contracts he met on ground. He has continued with them. Where is he getting the money from?
Oh no! You see,
how has he been running the state so far without an appropriation bill?
Thank you. Now
let me not even call it an appropriation bill, a budget.
Without a budget. Now you see, when there is an announcement of a state of emergency, certain constitutional bodies are suspended. That means also even certain finances are suspended. Now, what that means is that there are money that comes to the state. And don't forget that this money, some of them has been paid for. 80% of them has been disbursed already. His is supervisory in nature. No wonder the man came back to say, let's do the appropriation bill, because he has legislators. Of course, you know that he has legislators. The National Assembly is his legislators. Then he will take this budget to the National Assembly to give it by. Why, in the process of also preparing budget, there are certain percentage that is considered to the executive to keep using while the budget is ongoing. So it is within that, the jurisdiction of that percentage that's allocated that he's still using for now. I may not speak for him. I'm not his chief press secretary. I am not into government, but I know that that's what happens. Naturally speaking, when you begin to submit budget or begin to prepare for budget, a certain percentage of the proposed budget can be used by you while you are still waiting for them to accept.
Oh, right. Okay, so based on that, this move, according to you, is bold.
It's both constitutional, morally right.
Constitutional. Are we running in a constitution in Rivers State?
Yes, sure.
State of emergency.
Yes, an extension of the Yes, it's an extension of the president's office. That's what he's. You see, when you are appointed by by an elected president, you are not the constitutional government.
Now, when you say constitutional,
yes,
in the first instance, one would begin to wonder at the constitutionality of a sole administrator, when it's not backed up by the Constitution.
How?
Now, one would say state of emergency is constitutional.
Yes.
But suspending a governor and appointing a sole administrator in the place of a governor, is that also constitutional?
Very, very.
So a governor can suspend elected local government chairman?
No.
Okay. Now, choosing. A governor cannot suspend elected local government chairman.
Yes.
But the president
cannot suspend the governor.
No, hold on. A president can suspend the governor.
No.
If a president cannot suspend the governor, how come a governor in Rivers State is suspended and a sole administrator put in his place? Hold on.
Yeah.
And then you now say the actions of a sole administrator whose position in the first instance is questionable.
By you? Because it's not questionable. I'm going to defend it.
I'm trying to actually go through my thoughts. Now, if the the suspension of a governor is illegal, and a sole administrator was appointed by the president to take over the role of the executive, you are now telling me that this action, which cannot be backed up by a constitution, and the fallout of this action is constitutional.
You are the one who said that cannot be backed up by the constitution.
Okay, can you tell me where...
how it is? Now, let me tell you. Like I've said, the president cannot stand up and just suspend a governor. No, it is not democratic. Now, the question is, what is state of emergency? Now, you must define it from the circumference of that concept, state of emergency. Is suspending the constituents or the constitutional bodies around that state. That's what the state of emergency is. Now, if that is the state of emergency, it means that the name, the concept of the state of emergency has already suspended the governor.
No, it does not.
No, please tell me. You don't understand it.
Does the Constitution empower?
What is a state of emergency?
Does the Constitution...
That is the Constitution empowers a state of emergency. Now, what is the state of emergency that the Constitution empowers? What is state of emergency? That's the question. The Constitution says state of emergency. In fact, when the president calls for the suspension of I think it's just a repetition of what is suspension. He was just explaining to us what a state of emergency is. What is a state of emergency? Please, you are here. Tell the world what a state of emergency is. With declaration of state of emergency. It is suspension of the constitutional body. That's what it means.
Now, while that, I understand what you're saying by your definition of state of emergency.
That's what it means.
What I am asking is a simple question, because what gave rise to this is when you said that these actions are constitutional.
They are.
You're saying he's deriving his constitutionality from the powers of the president.
Yes.
Yes. Now, it is the constitutionality that you mentioned that triggered this conversation.
That is what I said.
Making me seek clarification.
It is what I said. I said the
on how suspension of a governor is constitutional.
I have said.
Now, when Goodluck Jonathan declared state of emergency during his tenure in certain states, where the governor suspended.
Now, that is why there was this rumor. I don't know how true it was. That the passenger advised him to write the president for the declaration of a state of emergency. Now, it's a different thing when the assembly and the governor moves to the president to ask to a declaration of a state of emergency because of this and that and that. What the president will do is to forward to him, he will appoint a military person who will go to that state and work with the governor to cope that issue. That's not the same case here. Now, if you allow the president...
The situation in the time of Goodluck Jonathan was security, right? In Rivers State, it wasn't security.
No, it is... You didn't understand what I said. There are two processes that had gone. I said the governor himself
wrote to the president.
Went to the president with the backing of the assembly. That, sir, this and this and this is happening in our state. We need for you to declare a state of emergency. The same way you can declare a state of emergency in health sector. So all you needed is bring in more military, bring in more this one to cope this thing. Why was that means that it is not the governor. The governor is interested in copying those things. But in this case, that's not the case. Now, as soon as you declare a state of emergency in this right that you have now, that's what happened to the rear. Did any court question it?
Now, let's look at, are you aware of the state of emergency, the Senate amendment of 2017 that did not fly through?
Tell me.
Now, in part 3 of that amendment, Senate amendment of the State of Emergency Bill 2017, in part 3 of that amendment bill, I think part 3 is subsection 3 or so, part 3 subsection 3, that's where it says clearly that a president shall, it is at the discretion of the president to suspend, that the president shall suspend the governor of a state in the emergency area. You can go do your investigation.
I understand.
Now, that particular amendment did not go through.
Yes.
If that amendment had gone through, then we can build our argument, or you can build your argument.
No. Yes.
You can build your argument on that. But that amendment didn't go through. So we are still in our 1999 Constitution as amended. Not that 2017.
I am not.
A lot of persons have, in fact, I had a guest on my show that was quoting that 2017 amendment bill that didn't go through to tell me that it is constitutional and it's in the law. And it is not.
Now, Lordship,
now what you are saying, if I understand where you're coming from,
yeah, sure.
You're saying that in this instance in Rivers State is different because it is not the governor that wrote to the president asking for state of emergency.
And the governor says it's a security threat.
Secondly, hold on. Now, your argument, from what I understand, everything you've said, is that even if a state of emergency was declared with Governor Fubara still acting in his capacity as executive governor, he still will not respect the judgment of the court, because state of emergency is to, regain control of the state. So even with state of emergency being declared, more militarization to stop pipeline explosions, it will not solve the political crisis in Rivers State because he is still in power. Is that what you're saying? Both
the security crisis. It will not solve it. We've seen that Edison here was his chief of staff. Now, the man that the police declared and the court is saying...
You cannot actually indict Edison here at this point.
I mean, I am not indicting him. No, I didn't say so. Look at what I said.
You cannot kill a man.
I am not... The man is what killing himself.
Who right now has committed nothing.
No, that's what I'm saying now. But he has been alleged to have committed those things.
Alleged.
Thank you. And you are stopping investigation into it.
All right.
So, and that is the reason for this state of emergency. Because, for instance, if you were, look, let me tell you, if you are in your house, for instance, and then you say, oh no, there's armed robber in my house, and all of that, and you invite the police will come through you. But if the police comes in there, they will arrest all of you. It is now you who will now come to defend yourself, whether you are amongst the armed robber or you are the owner of the house.
Okay, very well.